worst Christmas sales figures since the GFC. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian Heise here, and welcome to another episode of Heise Says. I hope you're all having a great Christmas Eve, and you've still got that one day left to do your shopping, guys. Trust me, it's all good. Got my stein of coffee, and I thought we would look at this article from ABC about the Christmas period set to be the worst for retailers since the global financial crisis, and primarily blamed on the fires. So there's also a whole lot of issues. I wanted to watch this data to see what was happening with the retail sales figures, because it's about 10% of the workforce here in our nation, and that is going to, I think, have an effect on unemployment figures coming up, and it's a sign of the confidence of the consumer. You can see here, which has been trending down. Now, I did the Christmas shopping for the kids last night. I did the last few presents for Frederick, and I had to get stuff for the girls too. And I went to the local Kmart, and I noticed there weren't that many people there. It was very easy to get a car park. It's usually much busier on a weekend when we go shopping there. Some of you have said in the comments who are working, it's still flat out, it's good. Let me know if you've gone shopping, or if you're going to go shopping tonight, what your experiences are, if there are a lot of people in there, so we can get kind of an anecdotal vibe from the viewers. Here's a tip, guys. This morning, the kids all rambled into the room, and they know that Santa isn't real. They know that the presents come from Mummy and Daddy. So they're, going, where are the presents? Where are the presents? And Rachel thought of a really good idea this time. That is probably a great way if you want to buy some sleep. We locked them all up in a suitcase with a numerical lock. And I said, Mina, if you can manage to hack the suitcase, I'll let you open one present early. So boom, they vanished, and we got to sleep in a little bit more, which was fantastic. Of course, she realized after a while, it was good because she had to practice her number writing. And she realized after a while, those 3 numbers can add up to a lot of different options, and kind of gave up on it. But it's an educational thing, and parents get to sleep in. So there is my life hack for Christmas, guys, because I am sure all of you who have kids, young kids especially, will get interrupted tomorrow morning. So let's have a look at this article. Australian retailers are facing their worst Christmas shopping season since the global financial crisis more than a decade ago, as fires burn across the country. Do you think fires are only the reason? I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are, that people are keeping away. But could this just be a trend? Could it be the fact that wage growth has just stagnated? People are concerned. Business confidence, if you own a business. Business conditions, business confidence, they're all down. So the bushfire crisis has come on top of already weaker consumer spending as people save rather than spend their tax and interest rate cuts. Well, yeah, that's because people are worried. And, I was talking to a client yesterday, and he was sharing how he was just cleaning out all the house, getting rid of all the crap, and going more minimalist. And I mentioned, it's funny, as an architect, you'll design these houses and people want more storage space. And they spend thousands of dollars per square meter building this place, the storage space, to store like a $50 IKEA Christmas tree or some other plastic rubbish they bought. It's when you think of it like that, it just seems ludicrous. So Russell Zimmerman, head of the Australian Retailers Association, said he expected to see the weakest Christmas spending in 11 years. Talking to retailers, it's been a much softer lead into Christmas than we've seen in past years, he said. You think, guys, that could have something to do with the Black Friday and Cyber Monday sales? Maybe people got their presents or shopped earlier. We know when there's a lot of smoke haze around, consumers tend to bunker down and stay at home, and they're not out spending money. Well, yeah, that's another issue as well. You don't want to leave the house and get involved in all the smoke, particularly in Sydney. But I think it's also fair to say that retailer sales were affected by Black Friday and Cyber Monday sales that happened earlier in the month. Okay, that makes sense. That's what I thought too. That's when we made our big purchases. The association predicted Christmas sales of $52.7 billion, but Mr. Zimmerman said it was going to be hard to meet that forecast. I don't know that we'll make the $52 billion. Last year's was about $51.4 billion, he said. I think we'll achieve last year's, but I don't think we'll achieve the 2.6% growth or if we do, only just. Mr. Zimmerman is still hopeful of a small rise in post-Christmas sales from last year's 18.3 billion to 18.7 billion over Boxing Day to the middle of January. A lot of it will depend upon what the weather is like and how much the smoke and fire inhibit it, he said. The Commonwealth Bank's Housing Spender Intentions Survey found that spending on experiences had trended higher, but spending on goods tracked sideways. So this is interesting. This is exactly what Rachel just said upstairs when I was talking to her about this video. She said, are more people spending on experiences rather than on crap, rather than on plastic stuff that you throw away. Well, I mean, what's Rachel? She's bought for her brother and her grandfather. Or her father or stepdad. I was sent out to buy, what was it? Booze. Yeah, little 6-pack of nice beer. Yeah, 6-pack of Lazy Bear as Christmas presents, because it's not rubbish you want to have holding around. Rachel's brother Andrew he doesn't need it. He doesn't need more crap. He's got it. He's got the whole minimalist lifestyle going on. Some beers will be good. Yeah, nice cold beer. And of course, I had to buy myself some Dark and Stormies for the Christmas period. You know, I couldn't go to the Potlow without it. But even there, they were doing all these discounts trying to get you to buy more and buy more, which was interesting. So, CBA's chief economist said tax cuts and record low interest rates had failed to boost consumers' appetite. Well, yes, because the interest rates, the cash rate, the insane fall in the cash rate has spooked us all. Everyone's worried about what's going on with the economy. That's why. There's been plenty of opportunities, he said. We've had a serious rate cut, low mortgage payments, tax rebates flowing through, and of course, rising house prices and a pretty solid labour market. Okay, we've got rising house prices apparently, but that's only one quartile, the upper end. Everything else, yeah. The whole wealth effect of house prices, I think people are waking up to it. Here's a question I put to you, everyone. Are people as easily nudged and manipulated as they were in the past, now that they have access to all this information, now that we can see wage growth hasn't grown, GDP growth is trending down, foreign investment in property, which pumped up a lot of that, has just tanked, and arrears is increasing on home loans. Maybe people are waking up, maybe people are getting worried. Let me know what you think. But he said the bushfires had worsened consumer confidence, and that does make sense. You don't want to go out shopping and driving through a whole lot of horrific smoke, although a shopping centre may hopefully have better air filters to the AC than you have at home. So we've seen a pretty steady deterioration in consumer sentiments in the middle part of the year. But things like bushfires and smoke haze in Sydney are not going to help, Mr. Blinth said. And a major industry group has called on the federal government, of course, everyone's calling on the federal government, to consider abandoning its plans for a budget surplus to divert funds to rebuild devastated communities. How about we look at maybe some water infrastructure? If government is going to spend, most of those communities, won't they be insured? The Australian industry group said fire and drought will increase food prices and insurance premiums and further dampen consumer spending. Yes, this is one thing I noticed going shopping for kids' toys. They were a lot cheaper than I remember. You know, because the last few years Rachel has done most of the Christmas shopping. So I went out there and because I'm buying for Frederick, so I'm looking at all the boys' toys. And I'm thinking, wow, I would have loved that. Oh, I would have wanted that. Oh, look at this gun. $5. It makes all these noises. Of course, I had to buy some for the girls too, so they could all shoot each other. But nonetheless, it's a lot cheaper for this, plasticky toy stuff than it was back in the 80s when I was a child. At least that's how I remember. So all the consumer rubbish that we're buying is cheaper, but our insurance is going up, our food prices are going up, our electricity is going up. So the CPI, inflation, isn't going up that high. And remember, they don't count house prices as part of inflation or cost of living, when it has the biggest impact on people's spending habits, I would argue, for a period of their life to save up for these damn things. Well, Chief Executive Ines Willox told AM the bushfire emergency has hurt economic growth and more stimulus will be needed. Maybe we just need to start, having better management. you've got the whole group that are claiming the bushfires have started from, climate change, the world is burning. Bushfires are part of living in a very dry continent. Even Aboriginal Australians, they had methods for dealing with this. If you have a look at the carbon market, we'll jump over here. We will jump over here to this website, the Australian, the carbon market. And you can see here a significant amount of the projects are savanna burning. Savanna burning, where they're managing the fire risk, where they're, instead of having it burning during more growth, more detritus, more carbon into the atmosphere, they're managing it earlier. So this isn't a new innovation or a new technology. This is one of the lessons that needs to be learned from a civilization that survived in a very harsh world. And I bet you, they didn't have a whole bunch of greenies going, don't burn the bush, don't burn the bush. I just bet you. And if you look at the videos I did about, a farmer getting pretty much done for $1 million for doing a fire break on his property here in Queensland, and just the rigmarole and the BS from the government, you won't be as hopeful. You won't be calling upon the government to solve all your problems, as so many people seem to do in this country. Anyway, back to the article. While it may be in the end, there isn't much choice here. We need to rebuild communities, so there is going to need to be some sort of significant government response to these activities, he said. Mr. Willock said governments across the country need to develop holistic and coordinated strategies to confront the threat of increasingly severe bushfire seasons. We're running pretty close to the edge, and it's not just going to be an immediate short term, it's going to be longer term too, he said. Even if it rained tomorrow, put out bushfires and ended the drought, it would take 3 or 4 years to recover in some centres. The Insurance Council of Australia said since the start of the bushfire season in September, more than $238 million in claims for losses have been lodged by households and business owners in New South Wales, Queensland and South Australia. But those figures are set to rise, with more catastrophic blazes expected. So, there you go, guys. Retail sales below expectation. You have to remember, since last year, we have had a population growth, and that is affecting, that's pretty much keeping our GDP growing. You think this stimulus to invest in these ravaged communities, that's just going to be replacing what's existing there? That's not going to be, real additions to the economy. That's going to be resources that could have been spent somewhere else that'll be diverted there. And that's a sad part of these type of things. That's a false economy if you think that's actual growth, real growth. We need to look at some infrastructure or other ideas. Still, guys, what do you think? Well, are you surprised with this news from the Retail Association? Where do you think it'll lead? Anyway, guys, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you enjoy our content, want to help us produce more, we have a Patreon where you can make a small monthly donation. We also have affiliate links with Amazon, eBay, and Independent Reserve. You'll find those below, and it's a great way to support the channel at no cost to you. And finally, we have our own merch, pocket squares, handmade here from the Heise Says blog. Thank you all very much. Have a Merry Christmas, and I will talk to you all later. Take care.